I think I was just recapping around what we had discussed last week. Like we discussed about arrays, the advantages of arrays, and then different types of arrays we have in Java. Like we have array, and then we have array list, which is dynamically growing size. Then we discussed about different types of operations, what we can do on array, and then we analyze their time complexity and space complexity, majorly time complexity. Like we have different operations like search operation and then insert, delete operation. And this is the snapshot of what we analyze with respect to time complexity, like inserting an element in an array, right, which is a big O of n operation, and the deletion is also big O of n operation, as well as search and irrespective of whether it is sorted or unsorted, it is a sorry, if it is a sorted, then it is a big O of log n, whereas unsorted it will take big O of n time. And there is a constant amount of operation, like time required for get and set, because we don't need any major work here, because we are accessing with the help of index, so it is much faster. Okay. So now we couple of problems also we discussed, like how we can check if array is sorted, and then what is the properties of that, and if there is a naive approach we saw, and then we saw there is an efficient approach as well. Then reversing an array, we saw a couple of examples, right? How to check remove duplicate from a sorted array, how to do a left rotate, left rotate by one spaces. Then we saw with the m spaces, and what is the efficient solution of that. So we, I think we already discussed this, and we discussed about a couple of other examples also. This is one standard algorithm we had discussed last week, like stock and buy and sell problem. Like you can buy at the lower rate and then you can sell at the higher rate so that you can make a maximum profit. So these kind of questions are very commonly used in interviews. So this is what I discussed. And let's discuss today's topic, which is I initially decided that we'll have a searching and sorting. I think that is a very big topic, so I thought like BitMagic is a very small one which I will cover, and then we'll start with the searching today. Then there is another week, complete 2 hour session required for sorting, because there are a lot of questions which interviewers ask in the interviews, right? Like so that we will cover. Okay. So bitwise operations. This I have seen like there are very tricky questions being asked in the interviews with respect to bitwise operations. Okay, so and today we'll discuss few of them. For example, like if a given an number, right, n number, let's say number equal to 5, and they may ask you like how many ones are there in the number. Okay, so if it is in Java, right, it is a integer. If you take it is a 32-bit. So we have 29 0 bits, right? And then followed by we have 101, which is represented in the bitwise. If you represent number 5 in bits, right, it will be like this. So they may ask you like how many, given a number n, how many ones are there or how many zeros are there in that? You will check it, right? So this is how you can do it. You will see like with a very small program, 5 to 10 lines, not even 10 lines, like 5 lines of program, you can quickly find it out that how we can check how many number of zeros are there, how many number of ones are there. And even given some problems like whether you can check whether number is even or odd, right? So provided that you should not use mod operation, right? So how you can check without using a modular operation? You need to check whether the number is even or odd. So that kind of question also been asked. And this kind of question can be solved with the help of bitwise operators. So we will discuss about that as well. So let's begin with this. So we'll see what all the different operations are possible with the bitwise, right? On the bits, what all operation you can perform. So bits, what we have is we have only 2 bits, like 1 or 0. Any number can be represented with 1 or 0, right? So so if you see, like for example, there are first operation is AND operation. So let's see the number is 5, right? 5 will be represented with 101, followed by 29 zeros. Okay, I will not write all that things. So you just assume that it's 32-bit number and we have 29 leading zeros. And if you want to AND 5 and 6, right? And you want to see what is the operation. So let's say given a number 5 and 6, you want to perform an AND operation on that. So 5 is represented with the 10 101 followed by 29 zeros. So similarly, 6 will be represented as 101, right? Sorry, 110. So this is the 1, this is 2, and this is 4, right? So 4 plus 1 is 5, and this is 6. So when you do AND, right, and what we do is generally bitwise, if there is a 1, right, then only there is output will be 1. So it is an AND gate if you represent like this, right? So input will be like 1, 1, then only output will be 1. If input, any of the input is 0, then output is 0. For example, in this case, 1, 0, output is 0. 0, 1 also output is 0. Whereas 1, 1 only output is 1. So what result you will get? You will get result as a 4, right? 5 and 6 if you AND, the result will be 4. So this is the common operation what we do with the AND. So basic logic is that if both the bits are 1, then only the output is 1. Otherwise, output is 0 for all the 3 combinations. 3 combination is 1. One combination is that 1, 1 is the 1, which is the output is 1. Another combination can be 1, 0. Another combination can be 1, 0, 1, and 1, 0, and last combination can be 0, 0. These are all the 4 combinations possible, right? So all these first 3 combinations, right, it will be 0. So if you AND with the 0, right, it will be 0, 1, 0. Any 0 contains in that NAND gate, so it will be 0. Whereas both the inputs, if it is 1, then only the output is 1. So this is the AND operation. Similarly, what we have is we have a OR operation. So OR is similar to AND. Let's see. Let me take the same example which I was discussing. So what we have is we have 5. So we have 5 and 6, right? 5 and 6. So 5 is represented with 101, and 6 is represented is 110. So this is 4 plus 2, 6. So this is 4, 2 is 0, and 1, 5. So this is 5, and this is 6. So when you want to perform AND, right, AND is represented basically. So we were here. Let me write here. 6. So if we AND, right, if you have any input as a 1, right, the output will be 1. For example, in this case, 1, 0 is 1. 0, 1 is also 1. 1, 1 is also 1. Any input, if it has a 1, then output will be 1. Only in case of 0, 0, right, output will be 0. For example, in this case, right, it is like this. So the output will be like how much output? 4 plus 2 plus 1. It is 7. Okay. So this is the output of this. So XOR is opposite of AND. Sorry. Okay. So not is also important one. For example, like given let's say number n equal to 5. Let's see simple example where we have 29 following bits, then we have 101. So when we perform not on that, right, not basically is like inversion. So when we say inversion, so all ones will become 0 and all zeros will become 1. For in this case, like all ones will become 0, and sorry, all zeros will become 1 till 29 bits, and then this 1 becomes 0 and this 0 become 1s and last one become 0. So this will be some bigger number. So this is how the inversion works. For example, in interview, right, people will ask you like, how can we invert the, for example, given n, how can you convert the bits to 1 to 0? So this is a very standard example. This can be done in a single operation, like you do system.out.println, and then whatever number is given, right, you just do the inversion. System.out.println, this will give the output what you are expecting. So this is just a simple operation. People will get confused with this kind of questions, but it is, though it looks a difficult question, but it is not exactly. It will be very simpler one.
I have a question from the audience, is that is there any real life application of bitwise operations apart from an interview specific question?
There are, because we are not dealing with some mathematical operation kind of things. So, but if you see, right, as I will explain throughout the questions, so you will come to know that there are a lot of real life application also based on bitwise operator. But there is a alternative possible way. For example, like if you want to check even and odd, right, you can check with bitwise operator also. But generally, what we do is we use a modular operation. Internally, it does the same thing. But as you know, like sorting and searching, why we are studying, because if you take Java, C, any library, right, sorting and searching algorithms are already there. But the thing is that if there is anything is there, you should know like how exactly that works, right? There are so many things like for each and everything, like there is a standard algorithms are available. If you're using any library, like you use Python library or you use any kind of libraries, right? They inbuilt have all these functions. Like in Java, we have mathematical library, right? Match dot, we can call any operation. You can do square root, all that things. But basic thing you should know, because this is the what interviews try to check how much clear you are with the basics. So that is what I'm trying to cover here. And I think the intention was this to like people to help to clear the interviews. And these are all the very standard questions being asked in the interviews. So there are definitely real life examples, people those who are very good in bits of bitwise, right? So they try to do that. Okay. Moving, I hope that the question is clarified, right?
Yeah, Feroz, please carry on.
Okay, fine. So what we have is a left shift operator. So left shift, what generally does is that it generally shift all bits to the left side. For example, let's see, we have a 5, right? 5, let me represent 5 here. So we have a 0, 1, 0, 1. This is the 5. And then we have 28 zeros over here. So representing it is a 32-bit number. So when we do left shift, right, it shifts 1 bit on the left side. So this 0, right, so this 1 will move here. The 0 will be moved at the 1's place, and this 1 will be moved at the 0's place, and the remaining zeros will be moved, and the last 0 will be moved out, and there will be 1 leading 0 will be inserted here. So for example, if you have 5 here, right, now the new number will be like it is 10. So this is 8, 4 is 0, and this is 2. So the output will be 10. So if you do 5 left shift by 1, so output will be 10. So you take any number. So as I was explaining, right, it is like multiplying by 2. So if you take any number and if you do left shift by 1, it will going to do a multiplication. For example, if you take 32 bit, so number 32, right? So 32 will be represented as 32, 16, 8, 4, 2, and then 1. So sorry, this is the number will come. So if you left shift by 1, right, this bit will move to here, and all bits will be shifted, and the lead 1 will be added at the last. So now the number became 64. So you take any number and try that. So instead of doing multiplication, you can do the bitwise left shift, right shift operations also. Okay. So similarly, right shift. Right shift is like similar to left shift, but only thing is that it does the shifting on the right side. Exactly, it is also same thing. Like instead of multiplication, it divides the number. Okay, for example, like if you right shift here, right, your new number will be like now we have 5, right? Right shift, this 1 will go off, and you will have 0, 1, 0. So it will be 2. Okay. You can take any big number, like for example 64. If you right shift here, it will come to 32. Right? We just did the left shift, and then it is a right shift. So this left shift is what we can say, it's signed a bit. So it try to retain the signed bit. So if you have 32-bit number, right, so last bit will be a signed bit. It represents whether it is a positive number or a negative number, right? So this try to retain that signed bit. It will not disturb. But whereas there is another right shift. I'm sorry, this was the right shift. So there is another unsigned right shift, which what it does is it does not take care of the signed bit. So if there are 32 bit means it will try to move all the 32 bits. So the number will be represented like this 3 times. Basically, it is the same. If you have a positive number, both the like if you use normal right shift or unsigned right shift, both operations are same. But only thing is that if you have negative numbers, I recommend you to use this right shift instead of going for the unsigned right shift if you have a negative numbers. Okay, let's see a few examples. First one is that check if the kth bit is set in a given number. For example, let's see you have a number 5, number 6. So 6 will be represented as 110, 124. Yeah. and there are 29 leading zeros. So I will not write it. Just remember that. Now let's given k equal to 1. Okay. So now you want to check whether this bit, first bit, k is nothing but the number, the position of the bit from the right side. Okay. So you want to check the last, sorry, this bit is set or not. Set in the sense like whether it is 1 or 0. Okay. How will you check it? For example, let's say 5 in this case, right? So now I want to check k equal to 1. So this bit, you need to check whether this bit is 1 or 0. So given they will give number n, and they may ask you to check whether this bit is set or not. So how will you do it? This kind of standard questions will be asked in the interview. So what you can do is, it is pretty simple, right? So any guesses like how you can do that? So now this is pretty simple, like this I'm checking for the last bit. Now let's say I want to check for the second bit. So this bit, how will you do it? So first bit is very simple, like you can AND with 1, right? You can AND with 1 and you check the output, whatever comes. Right? If the output is odd number, okay, so that nothing but it is a bit is set, right? It is a 1. If the output is even number, means it is 0, that signifies that bit is not set. But the question comes like you want to check the third bit. Okay, k equal to 3. How will you check this bit? So what you can do is pretty simple. You can do this this particular bit, right? You can bring it to the last. How will you do that? For example, 3, right? For to bring this third bit to here, what you do? You need to do the right shift, right? This bit need to be right shift to the 2 positions. So whatever k is 3 here, k minus 1. You need to right shift this number n into k minus 1 positions. Then this bit will come over here, and then you do AND with the 1. So the output will be whatever you get, right? You can check that whether it is 1 or 0. You don't need to do modular only. You can check whether n is not equal to 0. That is sufficient, because you are anyway shifting the bits, right? So you are pretty sure that, and you are ANDing with 1. So whatever number comes before, right? So will be when you AND with 1. So the last bit only will be checked. So others will be, it will be set to zeros, because I'm ANDing with 0, right? So if there is any big number also, so all will be set to 0. So your result will, you need to check whether it is 0 or 1. So that is sufficient. So how will you do it? So what you do, right? You AND with 1. So how many k minus 1? You are left shifting. So okay, this is the whatever I just explained is this operation. Okay, and you can do what I'm doing. I'm trying to bring this k minus 1, the last number, k minus 1th bit, ANDing with 1, and then right shifting this. So this is what I'm doing. So there is another operation, like what you can do is whatever bit you are checking, right? You can bring that bit to here, and you can AND with that. So that is how, that is also a way you can do it. For example, this k minus 1th bit, okay, you are bringing and left shifting. So one, if you left shift how many positions? 3 positions I'm left shifting. For example, let's see this example. Okay. What was so I was explaining this, right? So now you want to check this bit is 1 or not. So what I will do, for 1 I will left shift by k minus 1 positions. Okay. So what happens, right? This 1 will go and sit here, and other bits will like appended as a zeros, and anyway these things are 0. So when we AND with this, right? So you will get, if it is 1, you will get 1. Otherwise it will be like, if it is 0, then it will be 0. Other bits will be zeros, right? So basically what you are trying to do when you right shift 1 to k minus 1 position means you are trying to check that particular bit only. If this number is a non-zero number, that means the bit is set. Otherwise the bit is not set. So that is what is being done here. So what I am doing, k minus 1 bits, right? I am left shifting 1 to so many positions, k minus 1 positions, and then I am ANDing with the 1. So that is what it is being done. So here also this I think I already explained. K minus 1th bit, right? I am ANDing with 1, and then first I will right shift n with this particular number k minus 1, and then I will AND with 1, and I will check whether it is 0 or not. So this is how it is being done. So it is a bit. I think you need to sit with pen and paper and try to understand that. Try to draw the take some example as a numbers, and then you do and or operations, then it will be clear. It is a bit difficult here to write the numbers and explain. If you had any whiteboard, right, I can just write and then explain it. But the point which I'm trying to mention here is that you can do it in a single line. It is just a single line operation, just checking a condition. But only thing is that you need to play around with the available operators. Like I'm using two operators here. One is the left shift and the AND operation. Similarly here also, in this case, I'm shifting that bit itself to the last position and then ANDing. So in this case, I'm shifting the first bit to the position of the bit which I want to check whether it's set or not, and then ANDing with that. But in this case, that particular bit only I'm sending it to right. So both the ways are possible. So these are all the two possible ways you can do. Another possible, like you need to count like how many bits are set. So what you can do, this is a like let's see, I have a 7, right? 7 is this number is represented like this. This is 4, 2, and 1, 7. Now you want to see in this given number n equal to 7 or n equal to any number, right? In this case, it is 7. So you want to check how many ones are there, right? How many bits are set in that. In computers, right? Everything is in bitwise. So this kind of questions are pretty common in interviews, just to check like how much knowledge you have on the bitwise operator side. So how will you check? What you will do, right? You it is pretty simple one. What you do is you try to AND with 1. Okay. First you try to AND with 1. So what you will get when you try to AND with 1, right? So yeah. So you will get the last bit whether it is set or not, right? In this case, it is 1, and remaining things are 0. So basically, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to check whether the last bit is set or not. And then what I will do once it is done, right, I will right shift the remaining n to this side. Okay, so remaining things will be how much? It will be 0, 1, 1. Then again, I will AND with the last bit. Once I know the operation of this, I will increase the count here. Now the count is 1. In this operation, count equal to 2. Once I know the count, right, again I will do the right shift. So my next number will be 0, 1. So right, again I will AND with that number. So count will become 3 because I'm getting operation as a 1. So the bit is set. Once I know that number is 0, then I won't do that operation. Right. So in this case, given n equal to 7, we have a 3 bits. So all the bits are set. So output is 3. In the sense like 3 bits are set, so output is 3. So in this case, 15, right? So how 15 will be represented? So this is 8, 4, 12, 12 to 14, 14, 1, 15. Right. So when you do the check of the number of bits are set, right? So you will see the output is 4. So 4 bits are set. Similarly, 32, right? So in this case, output is, I'm sorry, this is 1, not 4. So output is 1 because only 1 bit is set. If you write a program, so what I am doing, this is a naive approach without using bitwise operators, how we can do. So what I am doing is I am doing a mod of 2. So basically what I am trying to do is I'm trying to check only the last bit. So whether I will check whether this number is even or odd. So when you get the output of this, right, I will try to check whether this particular number is odd or even. So how will you do? So any odd number, right, will have a last bit set, and any even number will have a last bit set to 0. So that is what I am trying to do here, right? So what I will do, I will divide. Once I will check if it is not 0, then that means the bit is set. So I will increase the count. Then next operation, what I will do, I will divide the number by 2. We just saw it, right? Divide the number by 2 is nothing but right shifting it to one position. So if I divide this 7 by 2, it will be how much? It will be 4, right? So it is 3.5. So it will be 3. So next number will be 3. 3 will be represented to 1. Okay. So what I will do 3. Again, I will check the last number, doing the modulo operation, whether it is odd or even. So once I have the operation, then again I will divide by 2. So 3 divided by 2, 1.5, which is nothing but 1. Again, I will check whether it is even or odd. And then based on that, I will increase the count. I will do this one in a while loop until I will hit with the number which is greater than 0. This is what condition being checked. Right? How will you do with the bitwise? It is a pretty simple. So what I am doing, I am trying to AND with that number. Okay. So what I have is I have 7 here, right? I am trying to AND with the 1. So I will try to AND with the 1. So once I will do AND, right? So it will be 1 here. This is 0 and this 0. So what I have, I will check that ending with 1, what is the result? If it is not 0, I will increment the count. So count plus plus. So count here, it is not 0, right? It is 1. So I will increment the count. Next operation, what I will do? I will right shift by 2 and then I will assign that to number 1. So if I do right shift here, right, from 7, what output I will get? I will get 1 1 0 1 1, right? So leading with the 0 will be added here and this 1 will be removed out. So now this is the new number. So again it will check number is greater than 0, right? It is how much it is? It is 3 now, which is greater than 0. Again I will perform this ANDing with 1. So what I will do, I will AND with 1 here, right? What is the output again? Output is non-zero. Again it is not 0. So in this case it is not 0. So I will increment the count. So count was 1 here. Now it became 2 here. And again the same operation. N again I will right shift by 1 position. So if I right shift by 1, what is the output? It will be 0 0 1. Right? This leading 1 will go off, and the 1 which was there here, it will go and sit. Again, what I will do, it check for the condition n is greater than 0. Yes, it is greater than 0. So it comes inside the loop, right? And try to AND with the 1. When you do AND with the 1, right? Again you will get output as a 1. ANDing 1 1 with 1 is 1. So you will check it is not a 0. Yes, it is not a 0. Your count becomes 3. Right, and now what you do? N again you will right shift by 1 position. So when you do right shift by 1 position, I will have all zeros now. Right? Once you will have all zeros, when you check this n is greater than 0, no. So what you do? You will terminate the loop and you will return the count. So by that time your count is 3. So this is how you can this can be done in 2 possible ways. One is that using the standard thing like using mod and using divide operators. Or you can using bitwise operators also it can be done. Okay. So we have questions. How we can do this for negative numbers? Negative numbers. Agree with what is that? I think I did not get this question. Guys, you have some questions?
Feroz, I think the question which Jay has is that if we can count the bits for a negative number.
Yeah, negative numbers. Yeah, you can do that. But see, negative, when it comes to negative numbers, right, these things will become a bit complicated because what happens, right, the sign bit, whatever is there, it toggles because the dedicated one, right, when you do negation, it will convert to all positive things, right? And if you do left shift, right shift, left shift anyway, you can maintain that negation because it tries to do that, because whenever you have a right shift also, you try to maintain that last bit, which is a sign bit. But using that these arrows, right, like these arrows, you can use for like normal numbers. But if you are using unsigned number, this is for signed number. Unsigned numbers you can, sorry, this is for unsigned bits you can use. But if you want to perform with signed bits, positive numbers, the bit which has negative numbers also, you can use this operator. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I think there's a suggestion that you can use an unsigned right shift.
That is what, this is the unsigned right shift.
Okay.
This is the unsigned right shift, which was I was trying to explain. I think it is clear, right? Yeah, I will share this document.
Yeah, we'll document it. Yeah,
we will upload the document. Did I miss anything? How we can do this? I think negative numbers I already explained. I didn't get this. I think the output of 1 instead of 4. I think that I clarified, right?
Yeah, that was a typo. That was a typo.
Yeah, that is a typo actually.
Yeah, you can ignore that. Ignore that.
Okay, fine. Okay. There is another standard algorithm. So now the problem here is that to count, right? So what you need to do, you need to do this operation for how many times? This need to be done for n number of times, or at least, in worst case, if all the bits are 1, right, you need to do for n number of times. N is nothing but the number of bits in that particular number. Like for integer, it will be 32 bit. But in normal case, in average case, right, it has to be done for the number of times. You can take worst case only. So it will be big of number of bits set, right? But how can we improve this algorithm? So there is a standard algorithm called Brian-Cunningham's algorithm. So once you show this program to interviewer, right, he will say that you are doing too many operations. Can we reduce it? So that is also possible. How can you do is that you can use this Brian-Cunningham's algorithm. What it does is that it tries to do a very simple logic for given a number, right? What it does is it tries to AND with n minus 1. For example, 56 is there. So when you AND with 55, right? So you will basically what I'm trying to do is you will try to check the last set bit, whether it is 1 or 0. So in this case, right, how many with using previous example, right, not this one, count set bits. So what you need to do is here, how many times you are checking that operations? You need to check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 number of times, minimum 6 number of times. Then only your next result will become 0. Then your loop will be terminated. So to do this, you need to do 6 operations in a while loop. So, but can you reduce that? So that is what Brian-Cunningham's algorithm explains you. So instead of checking these zeros, right, you can directly check these ones, which are all bits are set, right? That only directly can be checked. So in this, let me explain to you with respect to an example, then it will be more clear. So let's see this example 56. So 56 can be represented like this. So this is 32, this is 16, 48, 48 plus 8, which is 56, right? And then we have a 4, 2, 1. Let me write here. 1, 2, 8, 16, 32, right? Now what I will do, instead of checking the last bit, right, I will try to check the last set bit. In this example, last set bit is this one. So how can you do? When you AND the given number with n minus 1. So for example, like I will AND with 55. So how 55 will be represented? So 32 plus 8, 40, 32 plus 16, which is 48. And then we have, this is 4. 48 plus 4, 52, yeah, 54, and then 55. So if I AND with 55, right, basically what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to check with the last set bit here. If you AND with this, right, the leading zeros will become 0 here because you are ANDing with the n minus 1. The last set bit is basically checking. So you are checking with this, whether it is, what is the output of that, right? So now what you got output as 110, which is non-zero number. So what you do, you increase your count. So that means the bit is set, right? And next, what is the output you got from this? You got output as this. So which is nothing but how much? 48 plus 16. It is 30.
48.
48, right? So you got output as a 48. So which will go into the next iteration. Again, same thing you do. You do AND with 47 now, n minus 1, because your number is not negative 8. Number is not 0 8. So 48, if you AND with the last number, basically you are checking. So how that goes? So I think this should be 47, right? This is wrong. So it will be something like this: 1 0 1 1 1. It will be like this. So if you add up, right? So 32 plus 8 40, then 7 47. Yes. So if you add, right? So what you will get, right? You will get output something like this. So again typo here. So the output will be 32 in this case.
Yes.
Right. So if you add 32 with the last
31.
number, right?
31.
Yeah. So yeah. So if you add with 31, so you will get all the output 0. Then your loop will be terminated. So now by this time you got count 1 here, 2 here, and 3 here. So that is how you check only the number of bits set, not the total. Initially you are doing 6 operations to check how many bits set, but now you are doing only 3 operations. So this is more what to say, like relevant or efficient algorithm compared to the earlier one. So this kind of questions will be asked in the interview. This is very commonly asked. Like how can you improve? Once you write the program, right, once you show, they will ask how can you improve this, because it's taking too many operations. It is checking. You're doing AND with the bits which are not set. Can you improve that? So this is very standard, and this is also very simple terms you can write. So here, how I'm doing, like I'm initializing count to 0 and then checking the given number, right? If it is greater than 0, then only I'm doing. Basically, I'm ANDing with n minus 1. Okay, once the result of that will be assigning to n and then incrementing count. So again, I will check. In our case, it was started with the 56. Then we got output as a 48, right? ANDing n minus 1. 55 and with 56 and with 55, we got output as a 48. We just saw that right here in this case. And then again, you check in a loop whether that number is greater than 0. Yes, it is greater than 0, right? Then again, do the same operation. Again, AND with 48 with 47, the n minus 1, increment the count. So, and 48 with 47, you got output as a 32 here. Again, go inside the loop and 32 again with 31, then you got output as a 0, right? Count you anyway incremented, and then it won't enter into the while loop. It breaks. By that time, your count is 3. So this is more efficient algorithm. This is a very common question being asked in the interviews. I think it was asked in the Google and Amazon interviews as well. How you check the set bits, and then once you write the algorithm, right, they will say like, no, this is taking more time. So how can you improve? So this is basically take theta of number of bits set.
Yes,
Number of bits set.
it will be exactly theta of number of bits set.
Right. So this is more efficient than the earlier algorithm. Earlier algorithm is like it goes, sometimes if you want to check like let's say 2 raised to power 32 or 2 raised to power, like if you have a very large number, let's say this number where all the leading this is 30 bits are 0. So you want to see how many bits are set, right? In the earlier algorithm, what you are doing left shift and doing and. So you are basically doing 30 times, 31 times this operation. So your loop will be, goes 31 times. But if you use this operation, right, you AND with 2 raised to 32, 2 raised to 30 minus 1. So what happens, right? So basically you are doing ANDing with this and all zeros over here, all 1s. So when you AND with that, so basically this 0.
Firoz, just a question here. In the previous approach, can we say that the based on the worst case scenario, it will be what do you say, omega of n for when you're using the left shift approach?
So omega will not come into this picture. Omega is totally different concept. Omega is basically, I think I explained to like use for where you cannot guess or calculate because you don't know when that loop will terminate. But in this case, n is fixed, right? You are pretty sure that n will going to have
fine.
Fixed number of bits. So that is how, and you are pretty sure that it will going to terminate. The omega will be used in cases where like multiplayer game. So you don't know like how long the players will be keep going, right? So you don't know, like for example, threads. If you are running multiple threads, one thread is waiting for another thread, which is waiting for some other thread. You don't know when that will come out. You cannot calculate the time required for that. So in such scenarios, like we just check like omega in the sense like least what to say bound. So least bound is like how much time is required, minimum time required to to reach to that one particular state. From there you cannot make out like how long it will take. So that minimum state, like initializing of threads. Right?
Okay. So basically like a basic a base threshold value you're saying, kind of a thing.
Yeah. Lower bound. We generally say as a lower bound.
Okay, lower bound. Okay, understood.
Yeah.
Okay.
So next one is like how you can check if number is power of 2. Right. This is also very now so far now you might have already guessed or understood like how to check a power of 2. Power of 2 is nothing but like 2 is 2 to the power 1 is power of 2, 2 to the power 2. So 2 to the power 3. These are all power of 2s. For example, like if you represent with numbers, right? So it will be like this: 16, 32, right? How will you check? 64. These are all power of 2s. Any number coming other than this, right? 128, 256, 512, 1024. These are all power of 2s. So if you see the what we say like basic properties of bitwise, when you represent the number right, any power of 2, right, will have only one bit set. For example, if you so here 1. Okay. So if you take, this is not power of 2, but I'm just representing just to represent in a binary format. So 128 will be represented as what? 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, and 0, right? Only one bit is set. Similarly, 64 will be represented as all leading zeros. 32 will be represented here, all leading zeros. 16 will be represented here. So basically, if you check the number and number of bits are set in that, if it is turned out to be only one bit, right, then it is a power of 2. It's pretty simple, right? But if you don't know this, if you are not, I have not done this exercise earlier, and if someone is asked you to check the power of 2, then what generally people do, right? They try to divide by 2 to keep multiplying, dividing by 2 that particular number, and see if that number division, right, if that turned out to be in some scenario where which is not further divisible, but which is odd number, right? If it turned out, for example, let's say example of 6, right? Once you divide by 2, in this case, in our case, 6 will be represented 1, 1, 0, 4, 2, 6. So number of bits are set is 2, which is nothing but it is not power of 2. But in standard way, what generally does is like you try to divide 6 by 2. So next output will be 3. So 3, when you try to divide again, right, you will get 1.5 or 1 if you take. So 1 is not what we can say, it is not a even number, right? That means it is not completely divisible by 2. So if turned out to be like this, then it is not what I can say, like not the power of 2. So, and this is what, and this can be done in a simple operation, and this kind of questions are pretty common in real interviews, but people face this kind of question. And how will you do it? It is pretty simple, right? Just check number of bits set. If number of bits sets is turned out to be only one bit, then it is a power of 2. I have not written the program for this. Okay. Okay. So let's. I think any questions? Yeah.
I have one question over here. Let's say instead of whether it is a power of 2, question is like 8 as an example, then the answer is 2 raised to 3, which is yes.
Right. Yes.
Now if somebody asks that we need that count, let's say 3, we need to find out that. Then
count is 3, right? What I didn't get. Count is 3 means?
So let's say the example is n equal to 8 and output is 3.
Yeah, I think what Ankit, your meaning is you want to know what power it is raised
Yes,
to.
yes.
So basically,
okay, that okay, I got it. So that you can check you can check which bit is set. Now you got to know how to count the number of bits. You can check I have shown earlier example. I also given a k. You need to check whether the k bit is set or not, right? Let's see, ignoring the first bit will be like 2, which is not power of 2. If the second bit is set, so that indicates that it is a 2 raised to power 1, right? If third bit is set, which is nothing but 2 raised to power k minus 1, right? Which is the third bit. So this is fourth bit. So that I think can be again doable, right? You are understood?
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. More questions? I think someone is proposing some other approach. Okay.
They are proposing the AND approach, which you had used for the.
Correct. To check the kth bit. Yeah. Okay. So let's discuss some questions on searching. Okay. So I think I won't be able to cover searching and sorting both today. 11 o'clock. So what I will try to do searching today, and sorting is a very big topic. I think required a lot of I think maybe 1.5 hour or at least 2 hours to cover that complete topic. So what I will do is I will try to cover the searching related questions this today's session, and then we'll see the next session some other things. So what is the searching? Searching is nothing but finding a particular item. So for example, let's say given this is an array. So we have 3, 6, 7, 9, 12, 15, 19. And when given a question like you search the item 12, and what is being asked, you need to find out on which position or location, like index, not position, index, on which index this item exists. So you can find it out, array start from 0, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this exists on the 4th place. Similarly, if someone asks you try to find out which position the 5th 5 is exist. So that will be nothing but 0, 1. So it is a position, not, I don't want to say position, it is an index. So it is at the first index. Let's see a given item which is not found in the array. So in that case, what you will return? You will return -1. That indicates that the item doesn't exist in that array. Right? Similarly, in this case, you are trying to search an item 3, and you try to find which index it does exist. So the output can be either, it can be 1 or 0. Both are like true, because the array contains 3 of both the positions, like both the indexes. 0 index also 3 is there, 1 index also 3 is there. So output can be 1 or 2. Okay, a 0 or 1. Sorry. So this is how the searching works, and there are basic few searching algorithms are there. Like there's a standard algorithm like binary search. So what it's trying to do is, given a set of items, right? It start with the first item as a low, indicate as a low, and the last item as a high, and it takes a mid. And this binary search is basically performed on a sorted array. And I will show you like how you can perform this binary search on unsorted array also, and try to cover that also. So what it does is like try to take a mid element, like it is already sorted. So once you got the mid element, you check with the item what you are searching, whether that item is a less than the mid element or greater than the mid element. So based on that, your search area becomes null, right? So in this case, if item is less, right, your search area, now the next search area will be only this much. So this part is ignored. Similar to that, when you're trying to search in this area, right, you try to take the mid of that and try to check whether that item exists here or here. Based on that, if it is less or right, again your search area becomes narrow. So this is how you can achieve big of log and time. I think this we already discussed. But another approach is like you go with a naive solution, like iterative. You keep searching that item in this array, right? Searching 12, right? You can check with this 3, 6, 7, 9, 12. You can iteratively you can go. That will take big of n, right? Big of n, because you need to iterate the complete loop. It can be, and why I'm saying taking big O here, not theta here, because it can have a best case, worst case, and average case also. Like best case can be you can get the item at the first iteration. The worst case could be like item doesn't exist. So even if you check the last item, the item doesn't exist, or the item could be a last one. Both the possible scenarios. Average could be like in this case, like 12. You got it in somewhere in between. That could be an average scenario. So that is the reason it will be big of it. But in case of binary search, right, it divides that your search criteria to a half. So that way, it every time it divides the whole lookup table by 2. So then it goes to the log of n, or the base 2. So we generally ignore the constants. So it is log of n. So big of log f n. Okay. There are two ways you can write a binary search. You can write iteratively, like this is the iterative solution, or you can use a recursive also, which that also I will show. For example, in this case, like given an array, right, and the low, high. Low is nothing but the first element, the index of the first element, which is 0, and last element is nothing but n minus 1. In this case, array.length minus 1, right? Or you can directly pass the high also, and what item you are searching. So first, what we do, we just divide that complete, our search criteria to the mid to try to see whether whatever we are searching which exists on the left side or right side, right? So this is your low and this is your high. So first what I will take the mid, and I will check low is less than or equal to mid. It means my low, right, which should be always less than this. So now this is the mid. Now next what I will do, if condition, I will check if that is an item. Mid is an item. It can be possible, right? The mid itself can be an item. If it is the case, then I will return the index of the mid. Or what I will do, I will check item if it is less than array. If the item is less, means it is pretty sure that the item exists in this chunk. If item is greater than array, that means the item exists in this chunk, right? Half of the remaining array. So based on that, what I will do, if I want to check here, right? So anyway, I check this element also. What I will do, the high, right? I will shift my high to here, which is nothing but now mid minus 1. mid minus 1. And my search criteria remains same, low remains same. Low to mid minus 1, I will go to search. So this is how that I will just change my pointer. From high here to I will change the high here now. My high will be pointing here. Considering that item is less than array of mid, right? If considered to be greater, right? If item is greater than the array of mid, so what I will do, I will change my low pointer to here, mid plus 1, because mid anyway I check, so I will do mid plus 1. So now my search criteria will be mid plus 1 to high. So I just change my low pointer to here. So again I will check, go into the loop, again this condition I will check, and this is how it iterates. And after everything, right, if I did not find that particular item and my low is greater than mid, so what happens, right, when you hit with the search criteria, once the point where you will hit, your low and high both become same. So you have a condition and that is also fine. Still I will go and check, because one item also I can check here. But if it is just crossing other way around, high going other side, right, so that indicates that it is crossing over. So that time what I will do, I will just terminate this loop and comes out. I think this equal to is not, I think I need to check whether it is required. I think it is required, because the one item I can check. I think there are a lot of questions with respect to this. Data is not sorted, linear search is the only option. Okay, I will discuss that. But if data is not sorted, okay, I will check this. I think too many questions coming on that side. I told you like how it can be sorted. See, so I think I will tell you that I think you people got like binary search, right? Binary search will take big of login. Okay. You can sort any unsorted array using merge sort, right? You can sort with some questions.
Firoz, I think they're debating on whether the programmatic aspect, whether the low should be less than high or equals to high. That is mainly the questions.
This one, right? Yeah, I also got that out. Okay, I will check on that, but maybe it should be high, I guess. That is the reason I got this doubt. Because I'm just changing, I'm not changing the mid, right? Mid will be calculated only here, only high and low pointer only I'm changing. So I think it should be high. Maybe a typo error.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be high, I feel. Then only less than or equal to condition holds good. Yeah, I agree on that. Okay, that is clear, right? Yeah, I was explaining, right? So this, how we can do apply a binary search on the sorted array, unsorted array, right? Unsorted array, what you can do is, instead of searching completely with the iterative approach, right, going and checking each item, what you can do, you can sort that first and then apply binary search. Sorting will take anyway like big O of log n. If you apply merge sort and all, right, it will take big O of log n. And then you do this binary search, which is also big O of log n. So if it was big O of log n, right, it will be big O of log n only. And if you use the iterative approach, it will be like big O of n. So this approach will be, you sort first and then you use binary search, which is a better approach. That is what I wanted to cover, but anyway, there are a lot of questions. So okay.
No, I think that explains it quite well, Firoz, that why what do you say, iterative approach is not probably the best one.
Yeah, it is not good one basically. Yeah, it is not good one. In any case, it is not the right, not the good solution. Okay. There is another approach, algorithm, like, yeah, here I have done that. Less than or equal to or greater than high. What you can do is you can use recursive solution.
Firoz, sorry to interrupt. Just one question: that when is what do you say, merge sort the best sorting algorithm for sorting in order?
I think I will discuss that in the next session when we will compare with all the sorting algorithms, right?
Yeah.
So if you have your number of
Firoz, I have one question here. So sorry to interrupt. So sorting will be n log n, right? And then if we do a search, we'll again have log n. So why not we do a linear search directly, which will take us big of n?
Right. See,
Because
there
for
are different
sorting we
sorting
are using n.
algorithms. Right. N log n is for I think different sorting algorithms. I think I will cover this topic next week, which has where I will be able to show you like different sorting algorithms and which is behaving good. Okay, and there are some sorting algorithms which take log of n instead of n log n. Merge sort is n log n definitely, and insertion sort will take big of n, whereas there are some other sorting algorithms which will take log of n. Okay, so that part I will cover next week, and I will show you like if you use that sorting algorithm for sorting and then you do binary search, right? It is much better. It is always better actually if it is arrays unsorted also, which will turn to be log n only. Okay. Binary, I think.
Question is what? Why is binary iterative search not good? I think probably we can. I think as Feroz clearly mentioned that at the moment we are focusing on what binary search is, and we will cover when we get into the sorting this session. We will try to understand that for an unsorted array, what is the best approach given that which sorting algorithm will return the the smallest time and space complexity. So probably we can park this topic for now and then we'll focus on it in the next session. Okay.
Sure. I think the question was like compared to this binary search, iterative and recursive, right? He was asking like which one is good, which one is bad. Maybe both are equally good. So you can use iterative, you can use binary, recursive also. Generally, people try to use recursive, which is much not faster. Both are same actually. I generally recommend not to go for recursive because it will add stack overhead, and there are again we discussed this one last week, right? There is a problem like if you have the number of times you are calling, right? So which will lead to problematic later point of time.
Yeah, and recursion always comes with the challenges which Feroz has clearly explained in the previous session.
So in this case, both are same. Iterative and recursive both are same with respect to the they behave, right? What I'm doing here is instead of while loop, I'm just calling the same thing. And in the while loop, you are just changing the pointers over here. But here I'm just passing the low and mid. Same pointers I'm changing. I'm calling again the same algorithm. So basically it is same. Don't worry like there's something going wrong here or which is better. I'm not discussing order. Both are equally. Personally speaking, I don't use this binary search because it adds that stack call overhead because that method needs to be maintained in the stack and the stack unwinding should happen. So basically, you are trying to do an overhead for a VM. But anyway, and if you are number of times the search is that also has a limited, right? Stack size also has a limit, so it will be 1 MB by default. So if you are calling that 1024 times, the search is getting called. If you have a very big array, you may get stack overflow error. So I think that I already discussed some time back. So let's not do that. So I think this successful search, unsuccessful search, right? So it is a big of log n. I think I already explained this. So why it is a big of log n? Irrespective of whether search is successful or unsuccessful, because every time you are dividing the array by 2, right? Or even if you find the array, the best case can be like you are in the first iteration only you find the mid. So when you started the search, when you do this low high, right? So you found the mid. So that could be your best possible way. The worst case could be like you got, let's see, first item. First item in this case, it is the worst case scenario. So, or the last item could be a worst case scenario. So what you do, right? You keep dividing array. You finally discover that it is the first item, or could be a last item also. So it will go half like this. Okay. Finally, it will find the first or last also the same approach. Okay. So that could be your worst case scenario. Or worst case could be like you found the last item also, it is not there. So if the item is not there, that could be worst case. But even in worst case also, it will be big of log n.
Feroz, a question from the audience is that the time complexity would be the same for both the programs for the iterative approach as well as the recursive one. It will both be.
Yeah, it is a big of log n. Right, that is right. It is a big of log n.
Because we are always using the same approach. It's just that the programmatic way it's different. That's it.
Yeah,
That's
it is
the only change.
programmatical way different because generally people are more comfortable with using recursions. Sometimes I generally don't use that. I try to use using a while loop because everything I feel like is in my control. But once you call this binary search, right, sometimes things may go complicated in recursions. If you're very good in recursion, I recommend to use programmatically. It compacts your code and everything looks pretty good. But yeah.
Yeah, I think the only advantage of recursion is less verbose. That's the only
Right, yeah. Complexity, yeah.
Complexity.
Yeah, space.
Yeah, sorry, Firoz, you're reading the question. Anyways, please go ahead.
Yeah, I think somebody asked like which is better with respect to space. I think both are using auxiliary space as one. So for example, auxiliary space wise, right? So space wise, it is taking one. For example, I'm using everything is there in my array and parameters. So what extra I'm using this mid, so which is taking 1 byte. Sorry, 1 space I can say because it's everything in terms of I cannot say 4 bytes taking extra because it is constant. So auxiliary space is 1. Similarly, here also I'm not using anything extra here. I'm maintaining auxiliary space. I'm doing overhead on the what I can say like on the stack because of the binary search because I'm like adding it on the top of the stack, right? So that is the only one thing. Apart from that, remaining things are same. Auxiliary space is same for both the things. So I don't wanted to get into that because both are doing the same thing. Apart from that stack overhead, both are same. But now the question came, so I have answered. Yeah, so I think we don't generally consider stack space consume more space interest function has to be pushed to the call stack. So call stack we don't consider space. Function stack, yes, definitely, because whatever this auxiliary space, whatever I told one, right, it is a maintain of the function. So call stack is different. Call stack is it is up to you, right? You can do overhead, but this binary search will add overhead to the call stack. Call stack space for the computing the space complexity does not, we don't consider it into account. Okay, moving to the next. What you need to do is you need to find the first occurrence. This is the question. I think this is a very standard question being asked in the interviews. Let me erase this. I think this is the question. So what you need to do is you need to find the first occurrence in a sorted array, right? For example, let's say you are searching 20. So you need to find the first occurrence. So in this case, right, the index could be 2. So the 20 is existing. The first occurrence will be at the index 2. So the output can be 2. So when you say output, right, it will be 2 here. First occurrence of 20. So this will be code. How can you do that? How can you find the first occurrence? How can you find the first occurrence? You can use iterative way. Consider the array sorted. Okay, just remember that array is sorted. Otherwise, things will become very complicated.
Basically, binary search and then move to the previous element. If that element is saved, then again move to the previous element.
Right. Yeah, that is the right answer. So what you can do is right. You use binary search and you arrive to a place where that item exists. So you can, let's see, you found the item here. Okay. So what you do is you check the previous element until you get to the condition where the previous element is not the same. For example, in this case, it is the same. So you updated the index, found index to whatever found index, right, -1. Found index -1. This is your found index. Next, found index equal to found index -1. In this case, right, you got 4, 0, 1, 2, 3. You got 3 here. Now it becomes 2 because the item is same. Again, you check the previous item, right, which is not the same. So your found index will be now what? It will be 2. So this is nothing but the item found. Now what is the time complexity? Again, time complexity remains the same here. It will be big of log n. Why big of log n? Because the comparison operation, whatever you are doing to check the earlier item, right, whether it is the same or not, it is a constant operation. It is just a if condition, right, which will not add any overhead. So that is how it is a big of login. So that is how you can do it. How you can check the last occurrence? Again, same logic you can use. Instead of take an example, this 20, right? You hit over here. So what you do, instead of going back, right, you go forward and check whether that item is same or not. Yeah, let's see if you hit with this search found that item is exists at index 2, right? So you check the next items. So let's say we have some more 20s here. Until you found that item, right, you keep updating your index to 3, 4, 5 like that. Once you get to know that it is not the same element, so now in this case you have, let's say 2020 and this is 78, it is not the same. So you have that last found index is 5, so you can return that. That is how you can. Same thing, instead of checking earlier element, you check the next element here to search for the last element. This is a very standard question asked, like given an item, check that last occurrence index of the last occurrence of that item, right? And this question can be tweaked in interviews, like they make you a binary array. So binary array is nothing but zeros and one, right? And they may say like that array is sorted. Sorted means zeros will come first, then one will come. That is pretty sure. And then they will ask you like count how many ones are there or how many zeros are there. That is pretty simple. Like you can get the index of the any one and check like what is the beginning. For example, in this case, right? So you found that index 1 exists here. You check that what is the beginning of the index. For example, if this is 0, 1, 2, 3, right? And how many items we have? We have 6 items here. 6 minus 3, so which is nothing but 3 ones are there in this case. So you know the number of elements, right? In that in this array is 6. Started from 0, right, till 5. And you found that the first element exists at position, index 3. So if you minus number of items with the position, right, you will get that how many items, because you need to count. Once you got that first occurrence, right, you know remaining things will be 1 only, right? Because this is sorted array. So first zeros will come and then ones will come. So once you got the first item, you know that remaining things will be 1 only. So what you can do is you can minus the number of items. You know the number of item count, you minus the index with that. So you'll get that it is 3. In this case, it is 3. So that way also can be done. I think I have that. So the same count occurrences. So occurrences also same. I think the same concept here applies. So what you do is once you got the item, right, you do left search and right search also. How many items are there? Do the left and to the right also. So you will get to know this is the first item you found. When you do left search, right, you add this to the count, so that becomes 2. And then you stop your search here because there is no further 20 here. So when you do right search, right, you will get another item. So you will add one more here, so that is 3. Again, this will take big of login only. And binary array is pretty simple because you know like either zeros and ones only. So once you got that start index, the remaining things will be one only in binary arrays, considering that it is sorted. I think this is what I just explained. So how many items we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we have 9 items. And first occurrence of 0, what is first occurrence of 1? So it will be found at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you minus a number of items, you minus the index of the first occurrence, right, you will get to know how many items are there. So it will be 5. You can just check what to do, right? So this is how it can be done. So let's this example. This is one interesting question being asked in the interviews. So given a condition that let's say you have an infinite sorted array. So when we say infinite, right, let's say like the array size will be in billions. So the trick here is that use a binary search, but you don't know the high element. So binary search, we know low and high, right? High is nothing but the number of items. So they tweak the question saying in such a way that let's say it is like infinite, it's very big where you don't have the number available, or it can be like growable array where you don't know the high, it will be keep changing. So how will you search? So any guesses, guys? So far we covered a lot of things. You can use binary search, but it is in a different way. Search in an infinite sorted array. It is a sorted array. no need to go what we can say like iteratively searching every element. Okay, so what you can do, you can start with the first element, right? You can, somebody give some answer.
No, sir. Manoj asked a question that can you explain what is the infinite? Can you explain
Okay,
what
fine.
is the infinite area?
Okay, infinite array could be like, let's say you have a scenario where your array is continuously growing, or you have a billions of items which is keep getting added into that array, right? So you don't know that what is the length of the array, because that array is getting updated. And now what you are doing, you are searching. You are not doing a write operation. You are doing only read operation, right? Searching is nothing but you are just checking, right? It's just reading that item. Can be doable, right? One thread, the arrays keep growing. Okay, the item is keep added into the array. In another place, right, you are searching that element into that in that array. This is a real life scenarios. This happens in the real life.
So when you say items are getting added, do you mean to say the items are only larger numbers would be added, as in the array would grow only on the right side, or it can
Yes.
grow in between or anywhere?
No. It grows on the right side only. So consider that the numbers will be more. Basically, it is like, when you are counting something, your count is increasing. For example, like you have some file number of files counted, right? Which will be keep growing, number of lines you are adding. So basically, which will be keep growing only. So, and as I mentioned, it is sorted array. So your next number will be higher number than that the actual number. For example, like let's say some Aadhaar card numbers you want to store, and the index will give that person name. So you just want to search that with that particular index, and that keep adding. That will be possible scenario, right? I'm just giving a real life scenario. So that is what consider an example, like it is infinite sorted array. Okay, and this is very commonly asked, and it is commonly being used also. This case, so it is very common scenario, and in real life this case exists. So it is not like, and this is being asked in the most interviews. Yeah, somebody is explaining transactions in a stock exchange.
Yeah, maybe power by 2, go by power by 2, increase it.
Yeah, correct. I am going to there, right? So what we can do is you can go by power by 2, power by 10, whatever it is. You can use any logic, like you can go by power by 2 or power by 10. For example, you check 1, right, and then 2 raised to 20. How much 2 raised to 20? It will be a very large number. If array size is billions, then you can directly jump into 2 raised to 10. 2 raised to 10 is nothing but 512. So basically, what you did, like you just jump to the 512th element somewhere here, and let's just compare. If you got to know that that element is lesser than the element exists in the 512th number, so what you are doing, 2 raised to 10 means array of 512. You are checking, and you found that element is lesser. So then you apply binary search and do the remaining search. Or you got to know the element is higher, then you again do 2 raised to 20, very high number, right? You again go, then your search criteria becomes 512 item to this item. If you got to know the searching element is less than this, right, then your search criteria becomes this much. Then you apply binary search and do that. So that is how it is being done. Basically, power of 2 is the one thing which that array size is not that great, that big. Then you can use. Array size is very big. Then you can use power of 10. Anything, any constant value you can use, and then you increment with respect to that.
So, so Feroz, basically the idea is that since we cannot estimate the high, we basically trying to find out a temporary high to apply the binary search kind of a thing.
Exactly. So I think someone asked like whether it is a big of n, right?
Yeah, complexity.
No, it is not. No, it is not big of n. It is big of log n, because the first iteration, whatever you are checking, that first element, it is a constant operation, because you are directly accessing array of some value here, right? So it is still a constant operation. Once you got that value, right, whether it is, there will be some if condition and you are doing and you are jumping. So it is just a constant operation. Constant operation, we don't add into a time complexity manner calculation, right? So that is still remains a constant. But only your real thing starts from when you got to know that low and high. Then you apply binary search. In this case, like let's say 2 raised to 10. to 2 raised to 20, where you found that item somewhere exists somewhere in between, then your time complexity will start from here. Other things, right? It is like a big of one operation only, in the sense like it is just a fixed operation, right? I hope that is clear, right? Who was that?
It was Parth, I believe, who had asked the
If the
question.
element is not found till find 12, then find 12 will be low. If element is not found, yeah, then find 12 will be next low. And then that's right. So your next low will be find 12, and the high will be the next element what you are going to compute. And then it will be keep changing, which is a constant operation. So the time complexity will not change with that. We don't add that constant operation into time complexity calculation. So it still remains as a constant.
And there's another interesting thing which I think we should point out is that we should use the what do you say? For example, if I use 2 to the power 10 and I say it's a billion number array, then I should not be using the lower anything before 512 as the low, because I've already crossed it. So I'm basically improving the efficiency by increasing my lower bound as high as possible till we reach find out the high.
No, I think so. So that is required, because what you are doing, right? Let's see, my low is 0 first time, and I just went and calculated the 512. Right? I have not set my high yet. My low is still low. And in 512, I found that the item is less than, not that array of 512. It is less than that. So what I will do, my high will be 512 now. I will initialize the high and low here. So when I have both high and low, right? So what I will do, I will do my search operation. But in case like item is not, it is beyond that, not exist in 512. It is more than that. So what I will do, I have not initialized that. So I will again go and check for let some big number, let's say some 2000 number. If I get to know that item searching is less than that, then only I will initialize the high. Otherwise, I won't initialize. Once I understand that, and this, instead of initializing, right, I will always set this to low. This my low will be keep changing until I find that high. Once I find that high, right?
The question, I'm sorry to interfere. The question I had was, say that you didn't find it 512, you found it between 512 and 2000. Now, when you found it to be less than 2000, then should you, when you're starting your search, should you set the low to 512 and then start it? Because that way it will be
no, we don't set it to 512. We don't set it to 512. We just set it to 0 first. Okay. And then my next iteration, if the item is doesn't exist until 512, right? So then my next low will be 512. Now
that is exactly what I'm saying.
Right. If the item doesn't exist in 2000, right, my next low will be 2000.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly what I was also saying. That
it goes like this, right?
So if we don't find it, we keep on moving the low forward.
Yeah. So until I hit with the high, where I go to know my high is initialized, then only I will do my binary search from here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Till that I am not setting a high.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is how it goes. Yeah. So again, this will how what is the time complexity? So it is like big of position of I. So it may be worst case, right? It may go to that like 512 operations to do in iterative way, or it can be like we can do it in a log of n. I have taken worst case complexity. So position of I is nothing but like worst case. So this is like 512 position. So maximum you can go in an iterative way, right? If you're searching 1, 2, 3, 4 like that, right? It can go to big of 512 position, right? So which is nothing but big of n. So instead of giving n, I have given the position. That is also fine because it is a position. Now I'm using this binary search, right? So which will do divide. So maximum could be this much. And now I am applying binary search, means it will be logarithm. So whatever you get 512, log of 512, right? That much. The same thing. So because why I have not taken n here means because I don't know the n. So that is the reason I have used position of I. When I'm saying infinite, right? I don't know that bound. N is not there, right? So that is the reason how you will calculate. So this is also one common interview question. Okay, when you don't know n, how will you calculate? How will you do analyze an algorithm? How much time complexity will take? So that is nothing but which I have written. So which is big of position of I or big of position of log n. So this is basically used for normal iterative way, and this is for logarithmic way, which binary search uses.
Okay, there was a question from Parth. I still didn't understand how the worst case complexity of finding range is constant. Okay, Parth, you have to probably go at the previous sessions where he explains how to calculate the. I think I'll let Firoz answer it. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, for example, let's say you are searching some item. In this case, so how the worst case could be log of 512, right? That is what. So if you do log of 512, so basically, let's see the element exists in the last position, right? If you go iteratively, what you will do, you will search with 1 to 4 like this. You will do. It will be big of 512. So I hope that is clear, right? How this big of 512. I hope this is clear. Considering that this is the last element, and I found that last element is the 512 location. So it will be big of 512 because I'm going iteratively. But if we use logarithmically, so I will be keep dividing my array, like this, right? So I will hit with this 512. So it will be anyway log of 512. Because log of 512. 512 I have taken constant some number here, so it will be like big of 512 position. So I can say position of 5. So that will be worst case. Yeah, it is position of 5 because we cannot take that. What I can say is like n, right? N is not here. That is the reason we have to consider the position of 5. I think that is clear. Yeah, this logic you can use. So I think someone explained, right? We can do power of 5, and then once you found that item makes as you return, or you can use the binary search. So basically, what I'm trying to do is like I'm trying to. This is basically a binary search operation. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to check that if item is less than that, so then only I can set, right? Otherwise, I will keep incrementing I and then looking for next iteration. Once you found that item, so what I'm doing that I by 2, why I'm doing here is low means because I already incremented I, right? So I need to go to the previous I. So which that is why I'm doing I by 2 plus 1, the next item. Then I minus 1 is nothing but the last by 1 item. This is index, okay, and the item X to be searched. So instead of I'm explaining, can you just go through it? Let me know if you don't understand that. So I'm going to search an element in an infinite sorted array. Let me erase this.
Yeah, just wanted to. So I read somewhere and that there was this case wherein for very large arrays, what really happens is that low plus high can overflow.
Yeah, no. Yeah, that is a very good question. So what you can do is, right, instead of doing low plus high, what we do generally is we do like this, right? Yeah, that is a really good question you ask. So we try to do by 2. So it is nothing but we are trying to calculate mid. Right. What you can do is instead of doing low plus high, right, you can see low plus high by 2 instead of doing what you can do is like you can do low plus high minus low, low plus you can do high minus low by 2. This is how you can do. You can do like this. So basically it is nothing but instead of high by 2 you are doing, so you are subtracting the low. So low plus is nothing but you are doing anyway you are dividing the 2 here, right? Instead of 2 low, 1 low only you are dividing, and 1 low you are writing over here. So it turns out to be the same. So this is how you can use. Yeah, somebody explained that. Low plus high minus low by 2. Yeah, high minus low by 2. Path, yeah, that is the right path. So this is a logic you can use. So then it will not overflow because it is an integer, right? So low plus high, if it is exceeding large value, then it will exceed that. So you may have that problem. So what you can do, you can apply like this: low plus high minus low by 2. So this is possible. Instead of everything dividing by 2, right? What you are doing, you are 1 low you are keeping, and half of the low you are dividing from the high. I think that is clear. So let me move to next. Find a pair in sorted array. I think do we have still time, because I don't want to cover beyond the time. Okay, I think I have some 2-3 slides. Okay, what I will do? Yeah, the next question. Array list can be, you can use as an infinite. Okay. Next question could be like they may ask you to find. Yeah, so Nick, shall we continue or we'll stop, because it is already 11:50.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, it's 50. Do you think you will be able to finish it in 10 minutes, or it's like?
In that case, let me try to cover up. So find a pair in sorted array. So I think this is the example we can take. How will you find a pair in sorted array? So let's see this example. So we have this is an array. So let's give an example 29. So you need to find a pair which adds up the number to 29. For example, in this case, right? So how will you add up to 29? 10 and 19 you can add up to make a 29. So you can say that the numbers exist. So output will be 2. So in this case, right, 29 output is 2. Something got added up. Okay. So the operation could be big of n square. So if you do iterative, right? Iterative, what you can do, you keep the 2, then try to in a for loop, right? What you can do, for loop you iterate from 0 to n, right? And then what you do is like keep the first element, which is 2, and another loop, right? You try to keep iterating the remaining elements and add the item to the first element, like 2 plus 6, and then see if it is equal to 29, then 2 plus 8, 2 plus 10, like that. Once you got to know that this element cannot be make a pair with this element, leave it, then come to the next iteration, iterate this 2 to next item, which is 6, and then try to add the same thing. So you can do it. This will take big of n square. Whereas this is how you can find that pair. Okay, so which you increment, and basically this will take big of n square. So can we do a efficient way? Can you reduce that big of n square? Right? Yes, you can do that. What you can do is instead of that, you can use 2-pointer approach. So you start with the number 2, and then you start with this. Let's say, let me show you that example. So you start with this number 2, right? Let's say this is your left pointer, and then you start with your right pointer. This you add these 2 numbers, the left and right, and see if that let's say item what you are searching is 29 in this case. So you add this number, both the 2 and 32, and see if that number is whatever result number, right? Your result is nothing but left plus right. In this case, it will be 32. So 32 is greater than 29, right? Your search item. So that means that you are right, the pointer, whatever is there, right, it is adding more number, because this is sorted array. So left is having a lower number, whereas right is having a higher number. So what you do, right? You lower your right pointer. So you come here, and again you do the comparison, low plus high. So in this case, it will be how much it will be? It will be 22. But your search item is 29, which is greater than. So that means the low whatever you have, right, it has to be more to make that number either, because the item search item is whatever your result is less than the search item. So it has to be on the right side. So again you increment the low. So what is the next low plus high? So your sorry, the right is here and the left is here. It's not low, it is left and right. So left plus right, it will be 28, but still less, right? You found it is still less. Then what you do? You increment your left. Now what is your number? Left plus right, it is 30. So now you found that 29 is more than 30. So that means you need to reduce the right pointer. So what you do? You come here, and now you check your left and right. So now it is 29. Right? So it is 29. You will get the 29 here. So it is much better, right? Because if you consider this iterating, right, in worst case it will be big of n by 2 only. So which is nothing but big of n, not big of n square. N by 2 we can always ignore the constant, so it is big of n. but it is much better actually because it is not taking n square. It is even less than n by 2 actually in real life. Let's see if that item doesn't exist. So what happens, right? Your left and right will meet here one position. It becomes equal. So in that case, you can just stop the loop, right? If it is odd array, they will meet. If it is even array, they will just cross over, right? So you can check left is less than or equal to right, less than right, then only you iterate or you just stop. I think that is how you can do it. It is clear that I'm just going a bit faster because it is time is already we're just crossing the time. That this is how you can do. I think how you find a triplet. Triplet again same. Instead of big of n's cube operation, because you hold this and try to add up this and try to make same thing. You hold this and in the next for loop, right, you hold again this and try to see if these two and these three sum will make a sum. That is how you can do. So it is nothing but 3 for loops in your big of n cube. So 2 pointers approach you can still apply. You can hold this 1, 2, and using 2 pointer approach, right, you try to minus whatever number you are searching, right, minus 2 you do, and then you search that n minus this item exists in this loop. So which is nothing but big of, this is n, and this is for, you understood, right, big of n. So it is big of n square. So which is better than big of n cube? Actually, it is big of n into n by 2. So basically, if we ignore, right, this middle construct, it is big of n square. So this actually not be very clear for you guys. You need to practice it with more. I just quickly covered this. Again, same thing can be done, like you want to given a question like find a pair when a square plus b square equal to c square. You will be able to find this big of n square. Apply the same logic. Instead of just checking the number, you just multiply the same number with the same number and check if that addition of the 2 pairs exist to that given number. This is how we can do. I think that's it from my side.